conversations. Let's have real conversations.
Get ready to stir it up.
Life events and everything in between. Let's go.
Get ready to stir it up.
No capping. If guests got you covered right up.
Get ready to stir it up. Stir it up.
Come on.
Get ready to stir it up.
Welcome to Stir It Up. Today I have Prof. Joseph Osafo. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I will do a quick introduction for Prof. So Prof is a clinical health psychologist. He's a suicidologist. I got the pronunciation right.
Mm-hmm.
Prof has written several publications. I think at the last count you are sitting at about 85 publications with several reputable peer-reviewed journals. So well done on that. He's also the director at the Center of Aging Studies and is a consultant to several schools and organizations on psychosocial issues affecting learning, work performance, and development. So welcome to Stir It Up, Prof.
Thank you very much, Shakia.
Okay. So today, Prof and I are going to be tackling envy and jealousy. And these are emotions that I think that we've all felt at one point in time or the other. And sometimes they are emotions that motivate us. And then sometimes they can be destructive or constructive. Sometimes they can underpin personal growth, and sometimes they can cut us down at the knees. So once again, it might be good to kind of set the context of understanding the emotion and why it's important, and then also the positives and the negatives and how to navigate them. So welcome.
Thank you, Shakia.
All right.
Yeah.
Where do you want us to start from?
Maybe let me read this. I like to read something.
Okay.
So I'll just looking at just basic definitions of these two emotions, jealousy and envy. Often used interchangeably. And listen to one of them that I found. It says, jealousy relates to the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that occur when a person believes that a valued relationship is being threatened by a rival. It relates to the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that occur when a person believes that a valued relationship is being threatened by a rival. And then I found one about envy, quite interesting. It says, is a feeling of inferiority from a perceived lack of success or material well-being in comparison with others. So maybe we can begin from here. Now I'd like to just point two key words in the first definition of jealousy. The first is that it's deeply rooted in your psychology. It's in your feelings, it's in your thoughts, it's in your behavior. So he says it's related to thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that occur. Now, these feelings and thoughts and behaviors occur in relation to something. Two is that you believe. Your belief is a certain concluded sense of something. So when somebody says, I believe this, he is not or she's not in the process of assessing the thing. It's a
conclusion.
Yes, it's concluded on it. So you believe that concluded perspective you have about something is a belief. So he says that these thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that somebody holds is a belief that a valued relationship is threatened. Number 3, by a rival. So the first is that people have a certain sense that there is something they value, and that particular thing they value is being threatened by a potential rival, and it sparks the sense of jealousy. So that right from this rendition, jealousy appears to be a behavior that is aimed at protecting a certain space and something that you want. It is also very much concerned about what you think. It can be real or it can be imagined. It may not exist. I mean, I'm falling in love, and then I feel that my partner to be seems to be catching the attention of another guy. Hey, no. It may not be real. It may be imagined that my partner simply relates well with the person, so I'm not very comfortable with that. No. So it becomes a more of a protective attribute that I have about a certain space, however imagined or real it can be. But if you look at it, the other explanation that I offered about envy is a feeling of inferiority from a perceived lack of success. Again, there is perception there. There is perception in both of them. And how come I explain that? About a perceived lack of success. So, in envy, the person feels a certain sense of hollowness. There is something I don't have. And I see that somebody else has that, and I want it. I don't have this. You have it, and I want it. So give it to me, I'm coming for it. That's envy. But what is important in these two emotions is the power of perception. Now, perception for psychologists is simply interpretation. There are two words that are often used interchangeably. One is what they call sensation. For example, as I speak, you sense a sound. But perception is you understand the sound. So perception is the interpretation. That I'm speaking English, that you understand the string of words I'm using, that it's making a meaning. That's perception. So when people perceive things, they are trying to understand, but their understanding can be hampered by so many things. So in both emotions, which is jealousy and enviness, there is a perception. But the fundamental thing is that it is emotion about human relationship. That our relationship, and I think this is one of the emotions that are seated at the heart of human relationships. That human beings, again, let's start, are not islands.
Are not?
Islands. Humans, as I say, humanity is a community. Human beings relate. Human beings build relationships. Human beings discard relationships that are not of use and embrace those that will help them. So we can be selfish in the way we choose. Even mate selection. You're trying to get a partner. You engage in certain behaviors to attract the attention of your partner. Relationship is key and it's been found to be the key element for human survival. But relationship come with all kinds of dynamics. And so I find myself in a relationship of all sorts. And this can be a romantic relationship. It can be a normal, platonic relationship. It can be boss and subordinate relationship, all kinds of relationship. But what is interesting is that humans always feel that they feel threatened about a particular relationship they have with someone, that there's a potential rival who may, for example, usurp the attention of that person I have. Or that sometimes we rather feel we don't have anything. And that sense of inferiority pushes us to be seeking for what others have. And we can do anything mercy to get it. So this is where we begin the conversation.
Okay. One of so the key thing I hear is with jealousy, it might actually be you being jealous of something you already possess, but you're worried about the interactions that that person might have with others, right? And it's normally around it's relational. And the analogy that comes to mind, and this was another conversation I was having ahead of this, was when God says, I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. You have no other gods outside of me. I'm not quoting this right, but I'm kind of paraphrasing, right? Mm-hmm. So even God looks at his relationship with us and talks about how he's jealous and he doesn't want us to serve other gods other than him, right? So there's a relational element. Whereas when we talk about envy, it's about looking at outside of us and wanting something that somebody else has. And this could be both relational, but also inanimate objects. So it could be wealth, it could be a job, it could be anything, right? And thinking about that as well is, envy is seen as a sin, right? Covetousness, I think it's close enough. Exactly. So that's what I hear you talking about, if I'm kind of putting it in very layman's terms in terms of my interpretation of this. Now, what comes out at me is, apart from relationships, where it's intimate relationships, like your sibling, your partner, what other relationships or things strike the jealousy nerve or the emotion of jealousy? Okay,
so remember we said jealousy is you protecting a space. It's something you already have, and you are very much concerned about protecting that particular space. Sometimes, so let's go into occupational setting, for example, or the work space. Yeah. You have that job. I mean, this is a boss who will respond to your calls and will call you to just have a discussion with you and how things are moving. And suddenly, somebody came in between the two of you. It's somebody who has just joined the company. And suddenly, maybe the boss feels that he's smarter than you, and so he's giving all the attention to the person, discussing the issues on, company progress, achieving goals, and you feel left out. That was your space. That was your relationship. That was something that you felt you had control over. There's something we call a sense of agency. Agency, when you say you are agentic, you have that sense of control over a certain space, over something. When you feel that sense of agency or agentic control is threatened, that there appears to be somebody with better resources, better ideas, better competencies, better skills than you are. And so then you feel like, whew, I'm in trouble. Yeah. That's a problem. Not only that, sometimes too, even social standing. In social standing. So you see, if you enter into any community, there is what we call social distance. Yeah. The social distance.
Not social distance from COVID.
Not at all. But social distance relating to a certain sense that those who feel they are noble and are in the social higher or upper class have about themselves in relation to the poor. In other words, they feel that because they have resources and they have power, they are a bit more removed from those who don't have. Now, if you used to be at a certain social level, you used to command respect, authority, and people used to just respond to your beck and call and whatever, and then suddenly you are down there. There is, or you perceive that something is threatening that particular kind of state you find yourself. You can be very jealous. Mm-hmm. Because then what is going to happen is that state in which you find yourself could change. So jealousy is quite broad. You can feel it towards so many things. And what is most important, if you look at the literature on jealousy, it rather converges around relational unions. So I work in a space, somebody's taking my space, there's an intimate relationship, and I'm no longer in control. I have a friend, and somebody has taken up that friend. So you are guarding others from breeding. No, you are guarding yourself and your space from illegal persons, in quote, illegal in the sense that they should not have that right to come into that space. So you are guarding others from getting into that space. And if a woman is in marriage and he wants to express jealousy, it comes in various forms. He may decide, the literature, research shows, to dress in a way that can ward off the potential rival so that the attention of the man is focused on her. Evolutionary, women are seen as selfish in relationship. They want it because evolution psychology says that the woman wants all the man's sperms, in quote. Everything about the man to come to her. Shouldn't go to any other woman. So the way they dress, the way they talk, they will make sure that the man has all her attention, or rather that way, that the man gives her all the attention, and the attention doesn't go anywhere else. Whereas if you look at the other side of this discussion, and you're looking at men and the way they express this, it may be more boisterous, quite aggressive, where they are very assertive and they can walk to you and tell you, this is my space. In fact, jealousy is the emotion that has been found across species, so humans to animals. It is found in a child as young as 6 months and as old as 60 years and beyond. So it's a powerful emotion. And people...
So even with a young baby, when you carry, when you're carrying it and another, daddy comes and wants to, pushes daddy away and says, go, don't touch, this is my space.
And even when you give your child to another person, you see the child doesn't want you to hand it over. Says no.
No, this is where I want to be.
No. And the child keeps crying. As soon as you give the child back, then it will turn and look at the person. Go away. This is where I belong. Because the child feels that a certain space is threatened. So men, it's a very powerful emotion. Men can go to every extent. They can kill, they can maim, they can destroy, they can threaten. There is a particular behavior in certain kinds of animals, for example, dogs. We call it territoriality. And territoriality simply means that in certain species, including human beings, there is a certain of boundary that nobody should cross. If you cross that boundary, you are feeding illegitimately into spaces you have not been invited into. Dogs are like that. They will mark a space by their urine. They will fight. And human beings are equally like that. I mean, we buy lands, we build houses,
And put
then
walls
we put
around
walls
it.
around it. We marry, and by putting a ring on a woman's finger, you're telling him or her, or your man's finger, you're telling him or her that henceforth nobody comes closer than I am. I'm telling all others. So marriage, when you marry publicly, it is also a sociological announcement and a legal announcement to others that nobody comes into the space. It is a psychological announcement that henceforth you and I belong to each other. We will not allow any other unwelcome person to get into the space. So that jealousy could be positive, and jealousy, if not well handled, could also spill over. And it can be very destructive. Whereas, okay, go ahead.
No, go on. Whereas?
Okay. So whereas when you look at envy first and foremost sits within a person. It arises from a certain mark of hollowness. You feel hollow, you feel incompetent. You feel there's something you don't have. There is that inferiority, there's that complex in you. There's something I don't have. And you perceive that somebody else has it. The best thing to do is to ask the person, how did you get this?
So I can also go and do it.
But you will not. You rather sit somewhere and then you project all the evil emotions. I wish he dies, so I take over this position. What can I do to make sure?
What makes people think that way in a workplace?
Okay, so first and foremost, one of the human conditions that human beings are essentially selfish. We're selfish. That's a basal expression of ourselves. We want something that protects us and our survival than others. But the paradox is what I'm going to tell you. The paradox is that our humanity finds legitimate expression and survival in the life of others.
Yeah, the community.
Exactly. That's why I say humanity is a community. But that's the basic thing. We are selfish. If you are given
But you
a
can't
chance,
exist alone either.
it's truly true. You cannot. You know, there was a study I was reviewing. This was in a religiously fused environment where students say, I'm religious, I don't steal in examination, no copy. All right, so this is a school that is religious, and the students record that we are all Christians. Then there was an examination, it's an experiment. So the invigilators walked out. And then the proxy who was there began copying. He was part of the experiment. Then the next person who sat behind this particular guy looked, and then he also started copying. Then
Copying is contagious.
When he was asked, why are you saying you're a Christian? Why do you copy? He said, because he was copying, I also felt like it's good to copy.
Yeah.
So we're selfish.
But what happened to their values in that moment?
That's a very good question. So there's always what we call a brief suspension of ethics or ethical mode of operation. See, you exist in a mode of ethics as a human being. We expect that you'll be moral, you'll be ethical. We expect that your values will work. We expect that you'll be able to say, oh, this is not good. But in reality, it doesn't work like that. When there is a perception of a threat, humans will trigger every rough emotion in them to survive.
Okay.
And that's why I say sometimes when you understand the human condition, you're not too quick to condemn others. Because if it happened to you,
You react exactly the same way. Or reacted even in a worse fashion.
You would have done the worst.
Yeah.
So you must all the time give people the benefit of the doubt. that when people have the chance to steal when they are hungry, they will do so. Even if they are Christians and they are moral and ethical, they will do so. So that jealousy is a territorial expression of the human self. I'm protecting my territory, so don't come there. Whereas the envy is rather a complex.
Okay.
It's a big complex, and envy can kill.
All right. Let's stay on envy for a moment. Are there any preconditionings that set the stage for envy?
Well, a few of them that we can isolate and discuss. One is what we call social comparison. You see, so we have established the foundation that humanity is a community. You were raised up by parents. You had siblings. You went to school. You had mates. You went to the church. You still met mates there. You live in a community. You still had colleagues around you played with. There are subtle expressions and renditions of your worthlessness or your worth in such situations. And you may not pay attention to. When we are young, we are not often very deeply introspective. But as you grow and you become rational, you start thinking about those things. So there are times, and that's why maybe over time, some schools, especially private schools in Ghana, stop this calling forward who is first and who is second and who is last. In fact, if you live in Scandinavia, that's one of the things they don't do.
Yeah.
They will tell you that every child has his or her sense of ability and performance. So as you grew with others, they kept making comments. Oh, she's not good. Oh, she's ugly. Oh, yeah, she's daft. Oh, she's that. Blah, blah, blah. And when I was growing up as a little boy, I saw that a lot in some of the teachers who taught me. I was very slow. Among all my brothers, I was very slow to learn. But once I was like an electric stove.
Once you got hot.
Oh, you will enjoy me. Once I understood what you were teaching, I had ability to use, I was very conceptual, to use my own words to explain things. And I remember as early as class 5, my teacher gave me a chalk to explain things. But when you started teaching, it took me a long time to just grasp it. So when I was growing up, I had these comments. Kwame is daft, he's not smart, blah, blah, blah. That's where it starts. So you look at yourself in light of others. And
through the lenses of how other people see you.
Exactly, and then you always felt like, I don't measure up to what they expect me to be. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, don't forget that we are not 100% perfect. We already have liabilities. We have weakness. We have some things that we may not have the propensity to learn faster as others will do. I was born when my dad was 84 years. So I may not have certain, dispositions as my brothers will have. And he was very old. So where he would have taken my brothers to and areas and spaces that he had seen, I didn't see that because he wasn't able to take me around. So if you are measuring the expression and then the quantum of intelligence that I have compared to my brothers, they may be faster than I am. So then I may think that because I'm born with this kind of disposition, I'm not good. So people can have this feeling because naturally they have a natural disposition which makes them not too competent and skillful at certain things. That is most likely to be there. The third is and this is carefully chosen, is what I call significant others. So we have what we call lateral comparison. And then the one that is vertical.
Yeah.
And these are the vertical one is the one that bites the most. And these are often bosses, parents, pastors, teachers.
So it's people who are
They are
above you, or people who
they have authority, they have power.
authority figures in your life.
And I've handled clients like that. From primary school, the teacher said, you are daft, you don't know anything, you will not amount to anything. And this is biting them so deep that they have struggled to even pass SSCE. I had to work with them to rewrite. Thankfully, they passed and went forward. So, significant others can pass comments that can make you feel so stupid and useless. It affects your sense of worth, your self-regard, your self-esteem. And these things are actually protective of your mental health. If they are broken, you are in trouble.
So you probably find people who are even accomplished, but are still held back or anchored by some of these statements that were made years ago. So he's doing very well, or she's doing really well, but the person's self-worth is
so fragile.
It's fragile.
So fragile, and sometimes you wonder why some things break them so much. But look at you.
Yeah, you've done so well.
You've done so well. You're doing well. Why are you still giving your mind to this? It's because of the fragility. Something is at the fulcrum, at the core, at the core of their functioning, not right. So once that is not doing well there, then you can have it come forth in the slightest interpersonal difficulties that it comes out. So that's the thing. And when people are envious, it means something did not go right. It can be cast in a developmental mode to see where this is coming from. How are they raised? Which were the words used on them? Who made comments about their competence?
Yeah.
Who did tell them that this will not work? Who discarded off things that they wanted to do? A child said, I want to build an aeroplane. Of course, a child may not know all the complexities
nuances and the technical.
Exactly. But it's quite interesting to even think, to conceive of the thought. I mean, to have that thought that I want to build an aircraft. A typical, and this happens in Ghana a lot, typical average Ghanaian parent comment way, a bicycle could have won't be in a plane. To wait, you can't even assemble a bicycle. Talk less of a plane.
Yeah.
Just
negative.
Discouraging.
Yeah.
Discouraging. And so people they have grown up now, and then they are looking into the spaces of others. And they can be very angry. They can say that, I don't like the way I feel. I want to be like this person. The problem is that they won't communicate. See, once they communicate, they have moved from from envy. They are getting into a space where envy can be, and when we get to the positives, I'll talk about it. Envy is driving them towards self-fulfillment. In other words, they have realized that this envy can lead me querying myself and questioning myself. So I should rather approach people and ask them, how did you get here? So I can get better.
Interesting. There is just talking about the influences today, I saw a post one day that says, I won't remember it verbatim, but it was almost something to the effect that don't let social media give you pressure, because nobody is posting their failures on social media. Everybody is posting the nice side of their lives, right? And it would be good to get your perspective on whether media, whether it's traditional TV or the news cycle or movies or even social media as we know it, has been fuel or has been in any way amplified envy and jealousy in any way, right? Or because I think that what you see is people are living out their lives almost in the open. Well, parts of their life, maybe 20% of their life or 10% of their life. But that's what most people see, right? And when you see that, you might think, oh, but why haven't I achieved that? You know, what are your thoughts?
So, there is what we call the virtual self. One of the complexities of human nature is the ability to project your thoughts. So you can sit here and be thinking about the future. You can go 10 years into the future. And to look at yourself in certain spaces. Some of the good things social media brought to us is that where people did not have opportunity to build themselves within physical
Connections.
I mean, spaces where you can meet, like you and I are talking, they had a chance to transfer themselves into a virtual space and met others there who affirmed them, who encouraged them, and who built them up. And they may have never seen this person for years.
Or even seen this person before.
Not at all. So you're talking and chatting, and how are you, and you are good. So as they kept receiving such comments, they kept building themselves. A certain space for socializing is created. That's the power of social media. But the other side of it is that social media has created for most people spaces to also compare themselves with others. And there's absolutely nothing wrong in comparing yourself with others to get the best from them. There is absolutely something wrong in comparing yourself with others and feeling bad. And then when you feel bad, you don't do anything good about yourself or feeling bad. So they get into those spaces, and then somebody, and for the ladies, I can start with the ladies because I work, some of them will come to me and say, oh, I saw one to this side and my wig. I thought like, oh, my hair is not nice. Women, and they are, you know, deep interest on their hair and their looks. I saw the person, you know, the use of, how do you call this thing that you use in painting, this mascara, how do you call it?
The foundation.
The foundation. Oh, it's so nice. Look at my hair. Women get to these spaces and they are concerned about their shapes. Look at her. She's so shapy, Coca-Cola. Me, I'm a ball. Look at, and my tummy is so big. I don't know what to do. Look at my tummy. And comments. To be honest with you, if there is any group that runs itself down with all humility, and I'm careful here, it's our sisters and mothers. It's that feeling that I don't look good. I don't look good. I'm worse. I'm not feeling well. Look at the person and look at myself. I'm not looking good at all. My shape is not good, and they say that I'm old, and all kinds of stuff. So social media now is a place where people feel challenged, but not challenged for the better. They are challenged to be stressed. It's a stressful space now. And people go there and it's a breeding grounds for all kinds of mental health problems.
Yeah.
And look at me, look at my pictures. I have to change. I'll change my wardrobe. So I've seen people on campus taking shots, standing by other person's, vehicles. When they see your vehicles back, they rush there, they're taking shots. Because they want a certain image in those virtual spaces. So yes, it is. And if there's anything to tell our sisters to be careful, a social space, the social media. But not only for the sisters. We also have young men coming up now who are equally dreaming of having six packs. They want to be tall. They want to grow their beard. They want to look. I want to use the word. I will use it again. They want to use. They want to look very attractive. I mean, they will tell you that what the ladies like these days should be you wearing a beard, well-groomed beard, well-trimmed, and then you look very nice. You dress well, and the clothes are expensive. I know guys who go out there just to buy clothes, one top, let's say 1,000 cedis to look good, and put a cap on and buy some, very designer wears just to have a shoot and look good. It's crazy. It's crazy. And people are just throwing away themselves, competing needlessly with others, breaking their emotions, not challenging themselves to build their competence, but are challenging themselves in the light of, they're challenging themselves in the narrative of others and breaking. And I can tell you that in the past 2-3 years, it's one of the areas that we are looking into as psychologists. These have pushed people to the tipping point. Others have killed themselves. Some have attempted to kill themselves because of that. Somebody made a comment that I don't look good. Somebody is doing so well. He has followers. That's the third thing. So I want to be known.
Yeah.
I want to be followed so I can do anything crazy. I can go semi-nude. I can, do some kind, anything stupid, anything.
To trend.
Not just to trend. And others want to find out what is happening. So the more they click on sharing and you want to see what is happening, I'm getting popular at the expense of my mental health. So it's a dangerous space. And I think that it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's a space to learn, but it's also a space to really display ignorance that can be detrimental to mental health.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also one of the paradoxes that you talked about, where the goal of social media is to drive connections and to bring people together and build communities, right? But with this access and this platform that's meant to kind of enhance our relationships, the reality is the more disconnected we've become as people, right? The things that we used to do to build connections and real human interactions, we no longer do. And yes, like you rightly said, there are positives, right? Because now you can have conversations with people, you can collect data to understand how people are thinking about a subject. It's an avenue for sharing information and all of that, right? But on the flip side, which is the other side of the sword that you talk about, is sometimes people living a completely false life. And you kind of looking on that screen and thinking that's the life you should be living, and how that impacts you as an individual.
No, man, let me, and that point is very important. Let me just stress that point a little bit. So there is always some level of facade that people wear and express. And when you go onto social media and you are unskilled to detect that these are people who are just wearing as a facade, this is not the kind of life.
It's not real.
It's not real. It's fake. And then you become jealous. You are envious of them. They're living well. Who told you that?
Shisha and vibes.
Exactly. one of the things that people don't know about the adult, for example, the adult film industry, pornography, acting, and adult acting, is you think, and people have always thought that they really enjoying themselves and they are being paid for it. That's not so. A lot of them are suicidal. Most of them are on drugs. So they take drugs. I remember working somewhere and it feels like, I always loved this kind of twists and turns and contours that they turn their bodies into, be able to enjoy themselves. Go and try it. You break a bone. Some
you
of them
break your back.
Some of them really go through all kinds of pain. And those who have come out of that, when they tell you what they went through, you will see that they were just living fake life. They were not integrals. You didn't know, you didn't see what was true about them. You only saw the wrong side. And you are being invited and solicited by wrong appeals. And you feel that's the truth. It's very unfortunate. Now sometimes I want to look at what is enslaving people and why are they envious about some things. You feel so sad about it. Yeah. They are envious of things that don't exist.
You're absolutely right. When you think about intimacy and sex, and you think about the things you would see in adult content, the reality is that even possible? Is that actually pleasurable? You know, it's made to seem like that is the norm.
Exactly.
But it's not really the norm. So depending on how you as a young man was introduced to sexual activity, you might think that that's the expectation, and then because you're not getting that, there's a hole you're trying to fill, right? And even for women as well, right? This is what I expect to happen, you know, fireworks and and then the fireworks are not happening, but the media has presented a certain thing to you that is not necessarily the reality, and because that's the base on which you've set your expectations, now you're living in a bit of, I don't know whether I should say you're disillusioned or you're unhappy, or, you know, you're trying to kind of fill up something that you might never actually be able to achieve. Yeah,
and I remember one of my students conducted a study on looking at soap operas. And this series that caught up with the Ghanaian public over a period of time. Young ladies seeing would-be couples relating, kissing, doing all kinds of stuff, petting,
skirting
whatever.
Into the
horizon, get into the room, and then you express the animalistic part of you. You wanted to make love, and you push.
I told you.
Boom, and I want to know, boom, and then stripping each other's dress. It's that wild kind of thing. That's the kind of thing they've been socialized to understand how sex and the energy of intimacy works. It's a blatant lie. And unfortunately, because
it's bold, it can be boring and dull and mechanical. It can be. I'm not saying it is.
It can because the realities of life and what you go through in a day, what you seek to achieve. I mean, you get into the relationship and you see that, hey, don't be too envious about your friend's relationship. And we've often said that all that glitters is not gold.
Yes.
And you see this part of and you meet your friend and he tells you, hey, me and my husband, be careful about people sharing testimonies, in quote, about their relationship. It may only be a cover-up of challenges.
Often it is.
Yes.
Often it is.
And for me and my partner, hey, the way we relate, be careful. And then
you suddenly be picking quarrels in your home that are needless, because you're absolutely right. I've seen it happen many times.
And look at it. Look, I was talking to my friend. And look, he returns from work and there is a big hug and a kiss. And me, I don't even get that. I don't even get any hug. Look at you. You will lie to. It's a big lie.
Yeah.
We're not saying that is not something you should aspire and be open that your partner is able to do. Relationship. That's not what we are saying. We're saying that is possible. You can.
Yeah.
But we're telling you that be careful you don't set unrealistic expectations in your relationship. And also be careful that you don't over-assume and assess others as living in a fairy tale-ish world.
Wow.
A place that is beautiful, wonderful, than where you are.
Yes.
Whatever other people tell you about your relationship, stay with yours and work at it. And do not measure the quality of your relationship
Against others.
And be careful that if you can improve based on science, reading materials, learning from what the experts say, and then apply the principles and grow, is far better than thinking, I heard, I saw, I watched. The content you see on that screen is being heavily edited to elicit a certain response from you.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you will not buy.
Yeah. You know, as you were talking, the one thing that came to me was how contentment is probably a big prerequisite to avoiding envy and jealousy, right? Well, maybe not jealousy because of how we framed jealousy, but more envy, right? Being thankful for what you have and being grateful for what you have and being happy with what you have, right? Would then mean that, once again, you're not looking into someone else's plate and saying, oh, your wele is slightly bigger than my wele, or your egg yolk is a little yellower than my egg yolk. Why is your egg yolk yellower than mine, right? So that contentment might be something that we might need to start learning as individuals. Like, this is my lot. But even within that, counting our blessings, because we don't do that enough. Thoughts?
So that's what we call the power of gratitude. Gratitude is an attitude of contentment about, one, who you are, two, the state in which you find yourself, and three, an appreciation of who others are. This is me, Ekuya. This is what I have. First, I thank God, if you are religious, for helping me get to this far. Second, no human being achieves anything all by himself or herself. So there definitely might be others who have helped in my success journey.
Yeah.
So I thank my parents, my teachers, my boss, my friends. You're appreciating all this. And then you tell yourself, I am contented with where I am now. You see, it is only when you are grateful that you can appreciate how far you have come. Because what gratitude does is that it pushes you to pay attention to details of your progress. So sometimes we jump, you know what we call pole vaulting and high jump. Mm-hmm. Whereas high jump, you are not given an aid.
Pole vaulting, you
are given an aid. So what gratitude does to you is that it helps you to high jump, not to pole vault. Okay. It helps you to pay attention to the details and see how far you have come and appreciate all the nuances, the difficulties and the trajectories, and how far things have come for you. Then you can appreciate what others can also become as they move ahead. If you're not grateful, you'll be envious and jealous. But that's not the only thing. Another thing that helps us cure this jealousy and envy thing, especially envy, is being empathic. Empathy is an assessment of others in the light of their own unique experience, not of what you are thinking. Some people put it in a very raw manner. They put yourself in someone else's shoe, but don't get overstretched. Otherwise, that becomes sympathy. In empathy, you're managing yourself. Okay, somebody will say that when the Bible says love your neighbor as yourself, that's not sympathy, that's empathy. So be empathic. Be empathic and then tell yourself, what I am envious about concerning person A might have taken him or her 30 years to build. And I just want it now. No.
It takes time.
It takes time. Let me get to him rather and find out the rough terrain that he or she had to, endure. And then ask questions so they can help me. So when you are empathic, you can also cure this whole thing about envy. Again, when you are positive about your own abilities, I don't have what Ekuya has, but I also have something she doesn't have. It's a fair assessment that she is Ekuya, I am Kwame. She has some things I don't have. I also have some things she doesn't have. That's where we can collaborate and
work together. Yeah.
So I'm okay with myself because I have so when you begin to look at what you have and you pay close attention to your strengths, you won't be envious.
That's true.
You will see that sometimes what you are envious about, you actually have it in larger proportion
Than the other person. Yes.
You simply have not been wise enough to look at the fact that I have something better than what the person has.
Or utilized it.
Exactly. And you have not even exploited what you have. You haven't sometimes even thought through carefully. Wow, I think I can do this. And sometimes people have not really explored what they have. They haven't asked questions. They haven't introspected. They haven't challenged themselves. And so they are only sitting and just coveting. They're just envious. I wish I had that. What did we hear when we were growing up and reading literature? If wishes were horses, beggars will be riding there. Wishes are abstractions.Wishes are not actions.
Yeah.
They are so abstract. They are far removed from you. And sometimes those of us who are into this area of what do you call a motivational talk, we have to be cautious that we don't whip people's motivations beyond actions. When you're motivated only on the plane of philosophy.
We don't whip people's motivation.
So don't whip their motivation only beyond their actions. In other words, when you whip up people's motivations, it must be coupled with actions.
Okay. So you need to whip people's motivations up beyond the thoughts, beyond the idea.
Yes.
Okay.
So don't let it go beyond their thoughts without their actions.
Yeah.
In other words, as you whip their motivation, their interests, you must ask them to enslave. Let them carry their actions along.
I got it.
So don't tell me that. Stand by the road and when you see a very good car, what do you think will come to you?
No. It didn't come.
And the law of attraction, what do you think will come to you? And I believe that. When you think will come to you, all right. So what can I do to bring that to me? It's as simple as that. Okay. So I'm a realist. If you tell me that, I think that yesterday when I went to bed, and I'm just digressing shortly, briefly, I had a dream and a vision, and an angel told me that I'll buy a car. That's fine. That's so subjective. I didn't see the angel. I didn't see whoever spoke to you. What I want to find out from you is that how are you rolling this vision out in action?
But Jesus spoke to me through the angel. I don't believe it.
I believe it. He spoke through the angel.
Why is your faith so small?
No, that's not faith. Faith without action is dead. Don't forget that in the scriptures. And somebody says something. So one time we look at that. He says, we are saved from works and for works. Because you know that your works will not make you righteous. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes.
And yet, the scripture expects that you will also engage in virtuous works.
That's true.
Okay, so you think about it some other time. So faith without action is dead, and there are people who don't move beyond abstractions.
No,
they
I
don't move
understand that.
beyond beliefs.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I heard.
You need
This is what I
you
saw.
need to convert into an action.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's come a bit into the relational part of jealousy.
Okay.
And think about it. A lot of the time, there's the view that, oh, why is she so jealous? Why is he so jealous?
Okay.
And we've had a bit of that conversation already, where you've talked about how men demonstrate their jealousy and how women demonstrate their jealousy. Is it possible for people to have a relationship and there to be zero jealousy within that relationship?
Okay. So, first and foremost, jealousy is so fundamental to human behavior that it cannot be zero.
Okay.
Jealousy can rather be expressed in degrees, in proportions. So we cannot say that nobody is jealous. No, that is not correct. Somebody will have a level of jealousy.
Okay.
But is the quantum, is the amount of jealousy? For example,
extent.
I am in a relationship and my partner spends all the time with another person, talking, encouraging, helping the person. And I sit in the same house with this same partner, not getting any help, no support, no time for me. I don't spend any time, like he has no time for me. Now that obviously can arouse jealousy.
Understood.
And such a jealousy is a fair expression. Because when you marry, your partner should be your first point of reference.
Yeah.
Not another person. So what is happening? But the other side, we don't also want a partner who says, well, I'm the first point of reference and everything should come to me. And so once you are in a relationship, your parents, you can call them. Your sisters, you can call them. Your friends have become an enemy. No, it's a balance.
Because you need other connections to thrive.
You need them. It's a balance. So in a relationship, the extent to which you display jealousy can make it what we call pathological jealousy. It's becoming a pathology. Anybody who calls your wife, you have become an incessant checker of who called, who is he, what did he say? Why do you need that? But of course, if that person calls at particular times in the day or in the night, 11 p.m., then the person is calling. Who is Mr. 11 p.m.? I can talk to you about that. Why? Why can't you tell me who calls you at 11 p.m. all the time? Or you wake up in the morning and then you are on your phone, your handset, and then your partner, each one on his or her handset. And then you can get up and say, okay, I'm going to just attend to a few things, and the person's on the handset. No time for you. So jealousy can be healthy in drawing our attention into what we are leaving unaddressed, unattended, what we are not paying attention to. It can help us to pay attention to spaces that are getting threatened, and truly they are getting threatened, and again, set certain boundaries. It's very helpful.
Understood.
If you don't set certain boundaries, people will break those boundaries and get in certain spaces they are not supposed to be there. But on the other hand, and I'm all the time looking at balance, your interest in saying this is my territory must not be so strong to deny others to
Of
enter
their freedom and their independence.
Yes, and to enter into certain spaces, because there are some people who have the professional legal right to enter into certain spaces in your life. One day, your medical doctor will see some part of you you don't want him to see. Or that your child will see a part of you you don't want them to see. But you cannot help.
Understood.
You must allow certain people to come in those spaces. If you are your hair, nobody can touch your hair anyhow. I can't just be rubbing my hands in your hair just like that. But there is somebody who is trained to work on your hair. You get up in the morning and go and sit there and ask, okay, craft it a little way, maybe change the style, and you're okay. That's a professional touch. You wouldn't say anything. So there's always a space in the room to break certain boundaries, but it must be broken healthily and professionally.
What path does envy and jealousy lead us down?
Ooh, dangerous path if not guided well. For positive jealousy, you'll be able to set your boundaries. You'll be able to ward off a few people off. Some people must be told that you can't cross this boundary.
Okay.
You'll be able to protect some spaces. It's very helpful. Such healthy jealousy can also spur you on to achieve your goals. For example, there's healthy envy, where, look at Akuya is doing this. I'm going to do more than that. That's certain envy that is healthy. Auntie Akuya, how did you get your cameras? How did you get this going? Okay, I got it. Okay, I'm going to get like 10 cameras. That is an envy that spurs growth. And can you share a few things with me on what I need to avoid? And you can say, avoid this, avoid that. Amazing. Okay, becomes a mentor. And you become a mentee. And it's very proud that when I step out of this space, this person takes over. So you can have such kind of envy that can spur you towards achieving your goal. But if you look at the negatives, if you don't manage your envy, again, you're going to destroy your social spaces. You're going to you're going to be destroying relationships that are very healthy and that can help you to thrive and to flourish. These days, they say we should talk about flourishing.
Thriving.
So, exactly. And going on and flourishing and doing well. So why don't you manage your relationships? Not only that, if you don't manage it well, it can break you mentally. Because you see, unhealthy jealousy and envy places a lot of stress on you. The amount of energy dispensed when you are envious is just simply needless. You can't sleep. You're trying to just find out how best I can just outsmart this person. Why? Why do you need that? You don't need that. Your head is breaking. You are thinking about, no, this will not work. Okay, you're calling people here and there. I want to just outsmart the person. No. And honestly speaking, some of the competitions we've seen in recent times are driven by useless envy. Somebody is competing with someone just to break a record. Recently, what you saw about so ton. What is that? Somebody says he's doing kebab ton. Another person is doing what? I read an article. Somebody wrote.
You get in trouble.
Oh, which trouble? It's very annoying. I mean, what kind of records is that? These mediocre records. Listen, breaking records. When you say you are breaking a record, you must look at record breaking on the altar of virtues. You can't tell me that you're breaking a record of being wicked. And then we have certain things that are neutral. They are not very, virtues. They are in between virtues and vices, right? If you want to cook, that's fine. It's not bad. You can be on your feet and cook for a lot. That's okay. It's not bad. But if we said that somebody is doing forgiveness tongue, or forgive
how will
tongue,
you do that one?
that whoever hurts you, to the highest level, you forgive. So somebody stole your phone, instead of forgiving you. Somebody stole your iPad, instead of forgiving you.
That's a wild thought, you know.
Of course, it's a wild thought. But if somebody did that, somebody stole your camera, you said, come over. You stole it. I've forgiven you. If we said somebody should come and tell us the weirdest story of it, and the person forgave, some of them I can say them on set because they may affect some sensitivities.
Understood.
But if somebody's so broken and hurt, and one will say that person should go to prison, and say, no, I forgive him. That's virtue on trial. That's saying, wow, no, this one, I will not let it go.
Okay.
I think that we should be setting records on how we can be stretched and yet we still hold on to virtues. That's what we need. And not this kind of things that I think that is very annoying, and I agree with the person who wrote that article. That is annoying, and what do you call it? Guinness record should not be allowing that. We look at the world today, Ikuya. Wars, rumors of wars, children are being killed, maimed, bombs left and right. You think that disease. If somebody says that, I will, in the next 7 years, give all my salary to feed the hungry in, let's say, Somalia. That's something. He said, I'm working the next 10 years of my life. Every kobo, city, dollar that I make, I'm taking it to them. You think that is not, that's something we need as a record. And he says, I'm doing it for 20 years. I'm in year 25. So I'll start taking salary from this particular company.
So how have they been living?
Oh, he may be doing something else. But the amount of money I earn here
is going here. Understood.
That's the point I'm making. Okay? So I think that that's the point. I think we should set such records. So be envious for something good.
Cool. Okay. So, is it possible to completely eliminate jealousy and envy from our lives?
We can completely eliminate. We can significantly eliminate unhealthy jealousy and envy. We can fully and 100% eliminate it.
Okay.
It's a human condition.
Okay.
And it's part of us. But we can manage ourselves and live in a world with contentment and competence.
Okay. Final question, and they've been flagging me and signaling me for the past however long. If you are a chronic jealous person or chronically envious of various things, what are 2 things that would be useful to do to help you navigate your way back to a place of contentment or wellness of sorts?
And after we mentioned it, let me repeat them. 1 is that challenge yourself. Always have an evaluation of how you are acting. Secondly, simply be grateful. Number 3, finally, seek help. There are therapists available. Go to them. Let them help you.
I'll make you another. I'll make you a cocktail. So, to the fun part of this again, and again, and again, and again, you're required to taste it and tell me what's in it.
Oh.
Cheers.
Yes.
And I hope you struggle with this one. Don't tell me sugar.
Well, not for sugar, but there's a little bit of sugar there. But I think there's a bit of orange or tangerine.
There's no orange or tangerine.
Passion fruit.
No passion fruit.
I don't know.
Cheers. Stir it up. It's a wrap.